There is a new name stirring things up in the gacha space lately, Nicholas Light, a huge figure in the anime community. He's recently jumped headfirst into the world of gacha games, testing out all the big hitters, Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, and yes, even Genshin Impact. And let me tell you, the reaction to him has been all over the place. Some people love him, some hate him, and others are just there for the chaos. But what really caught everyone's attention was his reaction to Genshin Impact, because that has been making serious waves. Now, for context, here's what he had to say after playing Genshin Impact.
I ain't playing it. I'm done. That was my last time playing it. That was my last time, bro. That was it. And I'm not gonna fake it. Oh, it gets views. I'm not gonna lie. The only reason I played today was because I saw the viewership and I'm like, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something there. I could do stuff with this. Man, fuck the views. Fuck them. Seriously, I don't care. I don't want it. I don't want that shit.
So why did he react the way he did? Because here's the thing, whether you hate or love Genshin, I've said this before, most of our issues with Genshin comes down to the company, not necessarily the game. Genshin Impact on its own is a pretty solid experience. So then, why could Nicholas spend hours, even days playing Wuthering Waves, but barely last more than 3 hours in Genshin, quitting his second stream just 30 minutes in? That's what I want to unpack in this video. So if you enjoy content like this, go ahead and like the video, drop a comment, tell me what you think about the entire situation, and of course, subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Alright, let's get into it. So contrary to what people say, Genshin Impact isn't actually a bad game. Seriously, if you set Hoyoverse aside for a moment and just look at Genshin Impact as a game, it holds up. I mean, think about how you start. You land in Mondstadt, spot a massive dragon flying through the sky, and then boom, you're up in the air hurling projectiles at that same dragon. You team up with a god and a few allies, and the next thing you know, you're in a full-blown dragon fight. That's your first big encounter. How many games can say they kick things off with a whole ass dragon battle? That is hype. That's the kind of moment that should grab a new player instantly. Now, yes, Genshin Impact has its problems, nobody's denying that. But here's the thing, those issues really only start to hit once you've sunk a good amount of time into it. They build up. If you're just getting started, especially in your first couple of months, you're probably still in that honeymoon phase, enjoying the world, the music, the combat, and the story. So the real question is, why did Nicholas come in, play Genshin Impact for less than 3 hours, and walk away not just bored but irritated? Well, I think the answer lies in the game he played before Genshin, Wuthering Waves. Now, when it comes to Wuthering Waves, there's always been, and probably will always be, a constant comparison between it and Genshin Impact. As long as both games are in the gacha space, that back and forth is just going to be a part of the conversation. And honestly, I am all for it. I believe that comparison is healthy in the gacha space. It keeps developers on their toes, it stops them from getting too complacent or too lazy with updates and content, and if a game can be compared, it should be. But here's where things get interesting. The comparison between Wuthering Waves and Genshin hits harder than most. Why? Because Wuthering Waves borrows a lot from Genshin. Whether you want to admit it or not, the influence is undeniable. It's like they looked at Genshin, pinpointed everything that didn't quite land and said, cool, we can do better. And then they went and added their own flavor to it. So then the real question becomes, if Wuthering Waves is clearly taking notes from Genshin, even drawing heavy inspiration, to the point that it is noticeable, what exactly does Wuthering Waves have that Genshin doesn't? Now, I understand that there are Genshin fans watching this, and before you start typing out angry comments, I need you to hear me out, and take this in with an open mind. Wuthering Waves is objectively a better game than Genshin Impact. Now hold up, before you come at me, let me explain exactly what I mean by that. I want you to ask yourself this, why is it that so many people say the exact same thing? I started Wuthering Waves and I stopped playing Genshin Impact. It's not like you have to. You can totally play both games at the same time. Nothing is stopping you from switching between them, but somehow it just doesn't happen. And that includes me. I started playing Wuthering Waves and Genshin just kind of faded out. Cause you see, the only real area where subjectivity comes into play is the story. That's the one part where it makes sense to say, well, I prefer this one over that one. People connect more with stories in different ways, and that's totally valid. So for now, let's put the story aside and focus on everything else. Exploration, combat, design, boss fights, character details, you name it. And I want you to really think about this. Is there any part of Genshin Impact that delivers something Wuthering Waves doesn't do better? Take exploration for example. In Wuthering Waves, you can wall run, air dash, glide in dynamic ways, all while taking little to no stamina at all. It's the little details that make moving around feel exciting and fresh. And sure, Genshin Impact has climbing and gliding too, but it starts to feel static after a while. Combat is not even close. In WuWa, you've got parries, perfect dodges, fluid swaps, synergies between all three characters. It just feels right. It's fast, it's responsive, and honestly, it feels like the combat Genshin could have had if they kept pushing the formula forward. Even if I wanted to give Genshin some breathing room when it comes to environment design, I still have to admit, at the very least, both games are on equal footing in terms of visuals. They're both beautiful, no doubt, but if you're not a hardcore Genshin loyalist trying to argue otherwise, you probably agree that Wuthering Waves matches Genshin there, if not edges it out. And it doesn't just stop there. Character interactions, Wuthering Waves feels more alive, facial expressions more nuanced, character design sharper and more distinct. Endgames, where Genshin Impact has 3 endgames in 5 years, Wuthering Waves is going to his 4th endgame just in his first year. So when you step back and look at the full picture, what you're left with is this. Wuthering Waves isn't just inspired by Genshin Impact, it is better. And honestly, this goes beyond just being objective. It taps into how players actually feel. Because if you really look around, scroll through the internet, check out the discourse, you'll notice something. A lot of Wuthering Waves fans are former Genshin Impact fans. Just take a look at the streamers. The ones who are deep in Wuthering Waves, who praise it, who stream it, who hype it up, they'll all tell you the same story. There was a time when they loved Genshin Impact. Every single one of them had that phase. They were passionate about it and it meant something to them. But now that love has shifted. It's gone, completely redirected to Wuthering Waves. And why? Because Wuthering Waves feels like what Genshin Impact should have been. It feels like the version of Genshin that was made with more care, more vision, more seriousness. Like, if Horrorverse had taken feedback seriously, pushed the mechanics further, and respected the long-term player experience, we might have ended up with something like this. Wuthering Waves is that breath of fresh air, that long-awaited what if made real. And the cherry on top is, Wuthering Waves isn't from the same company. It's from a dev team that's already shown they care. They listen, they evolve, and that alone brings a huge sense of relief. Because now, we finally have a game that gives us that familiar feeling Genshin once gave. But it's sharper, it's deeper, and it's built by a team that actually cares. So now the real question becomes, what does that mean for Nicholas Lights, and by extension, new players? Now here's my honest take. If you are a new player, coming into the gacha space for the first time, and you are on the fence as to what game you should start with, whether Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact, but you genuinely want to enjoy Genshin, something I like to call the Nicholas Dilemma, I suggest you start playing Genshin for a while before you even touch Wuthering Waves. The only way to really appreciate Genshin is if you build a kind of attachment to it early on. You need time to get immersed, to connect with the world, to overlook some of its flaws. Because if you jump into Wuthering Waves first, it doesn't matter if you're a Hoyo fan, a Kuro fan, or just a natural gamer. Wuthering Waves will make Genshin feel like a step down. Because again, objectively, Wuthering Waves is the better game. Now, as I've always said on this channel, Genshin Impact has a good story and a great lore. But the Wuthering Waves story really takes that up a notch. I mean, yes, it starts rough, no denying that. The intro might feel shaky, but once it gets going, it really gets going. It's easily one of the best stories I've seen in the gacha space so far. The plot, the world building, the characters, everything feels intentional, layered, and emotionally grounded. So for new players entering the gacha scene right now, it's honestly no surprise if you end up disliking Genshin Impact after playing Wuthering Waves, because it really feels like you're playing a refined version of a formula and then stepping back into an older, staler version of it. Like trying the deluxe edition first and then being handed the prototype. Wuthering Waves is the deluxe edition, the better version, so when you've already tasted the better one, why go back to the older, less refined one? It just doesn't make sense. It's like stepping down into the past, and not in a good way. And honestly, that is exactly what Nicholas felt. He played Wuthering Waves, he saw what it offered, and then when he tried to go to Genshin, the prototype, his brain was like, why? Because it just didn't click anymore. That drop-off reaction wasn't surprising to anyone who's been in the shoes. So now, I throw it to you. Do you think it was wrong for feeling that way? Because personally, I don't. I think it's actually the most normal reaction someone could have when they go from Wuthering Waves to Genshin. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I really want to hear your take. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.